it's okay. I'll just watch something else. Alright, see you next week. Bye now. Well, Beekley, looks like Mitch isn't coming over. You want to watch something else?
Beekley what? Ninja!
But Beekley, it's the March of the Living Dead. I don't think I have a zombie ninja movie just available.
Ninja! Hi-ya!
Well, I do have a zombie martial arts film that has the Yakuza in it. Will that be okay?
Yeah! Hi-ya! Hey! No, no! Ninja! Ninja! Ninja!
Okay, you got it, man. Hey y'all, I'm Derek and welcome to Bad Movie Friday Night. And tonight, we're looking at a movie by a Japanese director, Ryuhei Kitamura. Ryuhei Kitamura is an award-winning filmmaker originally from Osaka. At age 17, he quit high school and relocated to Australia, where he finished his schooling at a school for the visual arts. He's gone on from his student films to not only directing critically acclaimed Japanese cinema, but also cutscenes for Metal Gear Solid, as well as English-speaking films like a movie I consider to be an underseen gem of horror, The Midnight Meat Train. The movie we're watching tonight is the cult favorite that flung Kitamura into international stardom. It's from the year 2000 and it's called Versus. Now, there's two versions of this movie, the theatrical release and the special edition. I'm using the special edition, which means there's 10 extra minutes of fighting just thrown in. Why 10 extra minutes of fighting?
Because fighting! Awesome! Hi-ya!
That's right, Beekley. You're gonna love this movie. So, to go along with it, I'm making a very classic Japanese street food called Yakitori. Now, you can use this with any meat that you want, including stuff you normally wouldn't eat, like gizzards and liver. But tonight, I'm just using chicken thighs. But first, let's get started on our sauce. Now, to this pot, I'm going to add a mixture of mirin and soy sauce, and to that I'm going to add a bunch of grated ginger, garlic, and brown sugar. Now we're just going to bring this up to a simmer and let it simmer until it reduces by half. So let's get started. Our film begins in Shogun-era Japan, with Shogun-era samurai zombies attacking a man, who is in turn killed by a wizard. How do I know he's a wizard? The staff. After all, if Rita Repulsa had a staff, that must mean staffs are magical. Cut to modern times, with two convicts escaping through the woods and meeting up with Yakuza. Just so you know, no one in this movie has a name. So I'm going to give the names to the important characters just so that we can keep up with them. So there's going to be the convict, the spare, you'll find out why he's called the spare in a minute. There's going to be the girl, the boss, and the little guy is going to be named Squirrel Man. I'm calling the guy in the green shirt and red tie Santa Claus because he keeps giving us gifts. Great gifts of overacting. Anyway, everyone is waiting for the boss, only known as him. And if he turns out to be the villain from Powerpuff Girls, I am going to scream in delight. And they bring out a girl they kidnap, and the convict has a moment with her.
Here's the thing. I hate guys who don't respect women.
Just remember that line. So the convict takes control of a gun and shoots a gangster, who almost immediately comes back to life. Everyone shoots the guy dead again, and Santa Claus decides to perform an experiment and shoots the spare. In all the confusion, the convict and the girl run away into the forest. The henchmen follow suit and pose like they're on the cover of a 90s alternative rock band's CD. Phew! So, while they regroup, let's get our chicken ready. All I did was cut the thighs into bite-sized morsels. Now, in Japan, it's traditional to leave on the skin and fat, which I have done, but feel free to remove it if you don't like it. Then, I'm just going to skewer it on, well, these skewers, and then sprinkle them with salt and pepper. It appears to be a Japanese morning star as constructed by someone with one tentacle. Beekley, what are you doing?
Derek not see Beekley. Beekley ninja. Beekley like the wind.
Alright, you goofball. Continuing. Okay, so the convict finds a random body and takes its clothes off so he can look more like Neo from The Matrix, and almost immediately gets into a fight with one of the Yakuza. Okay, convict, it's hard to believe you have respect for women when you have no qualms of knocking them out just to get them out of the way. Meanwhile, the rest of the gangsters meet up in the woods, and Squirrel Man points out that they're in the woods where the dead are coming back to life, which also happens to be the favorite body dump of the Yakuza. And just as he says that, tree zombies! So the gangsters start fighting off the zombies. There was a firefight! And in the middle of the fight, the convict gets cornered but runs off because he notices Squirrel Man ran off with the girl. At the same time, we learn Santa Claus is planning to kill off the boss and take the organization for himself. Then, out of nowhere, two cops who are escorting the convicts show up to add an extra plot line. The convict and the girl regroup, and the boss finally shows up, where Santa makes his move, but it doesn't go over too well, and the boss ends up killing him with the Fist of the North Star. I know it sounds like I'm throwing a lot at y'all, but there's so much to get through in this movie, and believe it or not, I'm not even showing y'all everything. So let's start cooking our skewers. We're just going to put them on the grill pan and let them start cooking through.
Oh!
Beekley, are you okay?
Beekley cannot jump kick. Oh!
Okay, Beekley, why don't you just sit down before you actually hurt yourself?
Okay.
Now, there's a lot going on, with the convict fighting, the cops running over a zombie, the girl explains that they're in the forest of resurrection, the Squirrel Man tries to escape with another person. Then, the girl and the convict meet up with the boss, who takes the convict into another world to explain some things. It turns out the boss was the wizard from the beginning of the movie, and the convict thwarted his plans. So the boss had to wait 500 years for the girl to reincarnate so he could complete the ceremony to open the gate to the realm of darkness and absorb its power. So he kills the convict and brings him back to the real world. But then the girl uses her magic blood to resurrect him, and that in turn brings back his memories from 500 years ago. We find out that 500 years ago, the convict killed the girl so her blood couldn't be used in the ceremony. He wakes up to find out that the girl has been kidnapped by the boss, and the woods have apparently changed into the set of The Evil Dead.
Phew. And we're still not done. Let's get to the really good stuff.
So the boss uses the girl's blood for the ceremony, but it turns out that since she's used it before, her blood is now worthless, kind of like a limited time coupon. So the boss lets us in on his true plan. Everything has been happening as he intended, and he actually needed the convict's blood to open the gate.
If that's so, then why go through all the pomp and circumstance of the girl going through the ceremony? I've heard of grasping at straws, but this is more like clutching at corpses.
Well, in comes the convict. Look like he's here to kick butt and chew bubblegum, and he just ran out of bubblegum. The boss brings back all of his zombie henchmen, and there's a massive fight between the convict and the zombies. It all comes to a head when Squirrel Man shows up with a massive gun, and the convict uses it to kill Santa Claus, and then the two cops.
You'll never hit me with a bullet that slow. My reflexes are 500 times faster than Mike Tyson's. Come on!
Okay, not gonna lie, that's the best bullet time gag I've ever seen. So the final step of Yakitori is the basting. We're just going to add the sauce while the chicken is still cooking. Now, we're going to do this on both sides so that both sides get a nice caramelized crust. Well, finally, it comes down to the final one-on-one showdown between the boss and the convict. Now, this fight scene is epic, but it's also very long, so we're going to jump around it. It ends with the convict finally killing the boss, then the convict and the girl ride off out of the forest.
So the movie's over, right?
No, wait! We cut to 99 years in the future, after it looks like Godzilla has finally destroyed Tokyo for the last time. It seems that the convict is done with destroying the world, so he asks the boss to take him to the other side, and the movie ends with them starting to fight.
And now the movie's done, and so is our Yakitori. We're just gonna pile it high on a plate and let people take it as they wish. So, final thoughts on the film.
This movie is awesome. Although it clocks in at just under 2 hours, it's fast-paced and very energetic. The plot is stripped down to the point that the characters don't even have names, but that gives the visuals more of a chance to take the foreground. It has a good sense of gore, but also a good sense of humor. Now, truth be told, because we don't know much about our main characters, it's hard to feel invested in their well-being, but they make up for it through their actions. If I do have a real criticism, it would be some of the camera work. The camera never stops moving, and while that works for most of the film, there's a few points where it becomes overwhelming. The use of the spinning camera can get a little nauseating, but that's probably the intention. But also, some of the moving close-ups can get a bit shaky and it's hard to see what's going on. But all in all, this movie is a spectacle and I highly recommend it. Whether you like zombie films, action films, martial arts films, or Japanese films, or any combination of those genres, I'm sure you're going to find something you like in this film.
So gather up your friends, make up some great classic street food, and enjoy this awesome Japanese movie. Well, thanks for stopping by, thanks for tuning in, and come back next week as The March of the Living Dead comes to a conclusion. Okay, Beekley, food's ready!
Ninja, disappear!
Beekley, get back here! Beekley!